WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Accra, 7 p.m. in Lagos. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM around the world at wadr.org and on YouTube and Facebook at WADR English. This is Newslink. First, our top stories. Nigeria's Financial Intelligence Unit highlights new platforms used by terrorists to transfer funds. Ghana's national security warns of attempts to recruit groups to foment unrest ahead of 2028 general elections.
We want to be proactive. Our early warning systems have already flagged this. We can only say that they shouldn't go to sleep and to keep us on our toes.
Guinean presidency dismisses nearly 200 soldiers, including chief of special forces, and Senegalese security operatives arrest 40 people over illegal gold mining. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Abdullahi Hassan.
Glad to have you join us. Newslink begins in Nigeria because the Financial Intelligence Agency says terrorist financiers are exploiting crowdfunding, proxy accounts, and digital banking to move money and conceal its origins. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, says foreign-based facilitators are using social media to solicit donations, often presented as humanitarian or educational appeals. From Abuja, Usman Umar reports.
According to the NFIU's 2025 annual report, donors contribute between $50 and $500 at a time, with the money being pooled and broken into smaller transfers through money transfer services and remittance platforms. The agency says the funds can eventually reach people in Nigeria acting as financial intermediaries. The report also highlights the use of bank accounts registered in women's names, while male commanders or logistics operators allegedly control the accounts. Investigators have also identified phone numbers linked to third parties, including SIM cards registered to deceased people, which can make it harder to trace the real beneficiaries of transactions. The NFIU says terrorist cells, including those linked to ISWAP, use transaction descriptions in different ways, sometimes to maintain internal financial records and at other times to conceal the purpose of payments. The agency says the findings point to a broader shift in financial crime, with criminals exploiting fintech platforms, cryptocurrency, online fraud, and weakness in customer identification systems. The report also flags risks in the management of public funds, particularly through third-party accounts, procurement, and heavy reliance on cash. The Financial Intelligence Unit says it has issued intelligence alerts and advisories to help authorities and financial institutions disrupt these emerging financing and fraud networks. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Staying on security, Ghana's national security is sounding the alarm over the early recruitment of and mobilization of groups that could be used to perpetuate political violence ahead of the country's 2028 general elections. The report warns that the threat is already emerging well before Ghana enters the main election campaign period. Ghana's National Security Coordinator, Usman Abdulrazak, says security agencies have detected early signs of mobilization through their warning systems. He added that authorities must act swiftly to prevent these groups from evolving into organized networks capable of threatening Ghana's democratic process. Iliklim Awuku tells us more.
The national security warning comes as Ghana looks ahead to the 2028 general elections with concerns that political mobilization and recruitment into violent groups may begin well before the official campaign period. National Security Coordinator COP Osman Abdulrazak says the security agency's early warning systems have already detected signs of mobilization, requiring intelligence-led preventive measures.
It is easier to prevent political violence before the main event, that is, elections. By the time campaign rallies are underway, in earnest, we are managing containment rather than genuine prevention. But we want to be proactive. Our early warning systems have already flagged this. we can only say that they shouldn't go to sleep and to keep us on our toes. These preventive measures must include intelligence mapping and stakeholder engagement at least 12 to 18 months before election, just as we are doing.
He says security agencies must act early rather than wait until political rallies and campaigns are in full swing. COP Abdul Razak is proposing intelligence mapping and stakeholder engagement months before the elections. He warns against being complacent over the seeming disappearance of organized vigilante groups.
We must not mistake reduced visibility of these groups as complete eradication. A vigilante group is a vigilante group, regardless of its name, uniform, or publicity. Some groups are rebranding as internal security teams. Others have dissolved into looser and less visible networks that are more complex to track. Mobilization has moved online, on social media, encrypted chats, private security arrangements, or other informal channels.
The National Security Secretariat is therefore calling for stronger intelligence gathering and coordination among security agencies to identify and disrupt potential threats before they escalate into political violence. For WADR, Elikli Mauku, Accra.
Now to Guinea, the government has dismissed 173 soldiers just days after a minor cabinet reshuffle. President Mamadou Doumbouya's decision was announced late Monday on national television. Among those affected is former Special Forces Commander Michel Lama. Authorities have not publicly given a reason for the mass dismissals, adding to questions surrounding the latest changes within Guinea's military and government. Sankle Janko has won this report.
President General Mamadou Doumbouya has ordered the dismissal of 173 soldiers from Guinea's armed forces for desertion. The decision was announced Monday on national television. Among those dismissed is Commander Michel Lama, a former Special Forces officer who took part in the 2021 coup that ousted President Alpha Condé. The move comes as Doumbouya's government tightens discipline and reinforces military hierarchy. The decision follows Doumbouya's recent return from Greece, where he spent a short period on what the presidency described as annual leave. He has also carried out a minor cabinet reshuffle while retaining Prime Minister Amadou Wuriba. Recall that Doumbouya's absence had triggered speculation among sections of the political class over a possible change of government. Whether the latest military dismissals and government changes are part of a broader political strategy remains to be seen.
Sankule Janko reporting.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
As a reminder, we're live online at wadr.org and on YouTube and Facebook at WADR English. Here in Senegal, security forces have arrested 40 people and dismantled several clandestine gold mining sites in the eastern commune of Missirah. Augustine Kole has more.
The operation, carried out on August 22 by the Gassi 2 Rapid Intervention Unit, targeted illegal mining activities in the area. Among those arrested are 16 Malians, 11 Burkinabe, 9 Guineans, and 4 Senegalese, according to the National Gendarmerie. Authorities also seized a seizable hoard of mining equipment, including 20 motorcycles, 14 motor pumps, 8 solar panels, 7 generators, and 5 jackhammers. The crackdown is part of ongoing efforts to curb illegal gold mining, which authorities say threatens security, the environment, and the country's natural resources. The Gendarmerie says it will continue operations to dismantle illegal mining networks and is urging residents to report suspicious activities.
Sankule Janko with that report. Staying in Senegal, over 456 irregular migrants have been rescued off the coast of St. Louis in the northern region of the country by the National Navy. On Saturday, August 22, a canoe carrying 210 people was intercepted off the coast of St. Louis. 8 passengers whose health was considered critical were evacuated to the city for medical care. The others were taken to a naval base before being handed over to the relevant authorities. A first operation carried out 2 days earlier rescued 246 other people attempting the regular migration journey. We're away from Senegal now to Togo. The government is issuing mineral prospecting authorization and exploration permits after several months of suspension. The decision was formalized in an order signed on August 18 by Minister Delegate for Energy and Mineral Resources, Robert Kofi Messan-Eklo. It applies nationwide except to construction materials and industrial minerals. Christopher Ticho completes the story.
Companies and investors interested in exploring Togo's mineral resources can now file applications with the relevant authorities. However, the lifting of the suspension does not give companies automatic permission to begin exploration. Applications must still be submitted to the Directorate General of Mines and Geology and meet existing legal requirements. According to authorities, an exploration permit is valid for 3 years and can be renewed twice for 2 years each time. Prospecting authorizations are non-exclusive and allow holders to search for mineral substance within a defined area for 2 years. They can also be renewed twice for 1 each year. The suspension of mineral prospecting authorization permits announced in March 2025 was described as a strategic pause for Togo to review its legal framework. In 2024, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources analyzed 370 mineral resources, including gold bars, precious stones, and geochemical samples. These reforms aim to create a mining administration that is more rigorous, transparent, sustainable, and inclusive. The government hopes the renewed exploration process will help identify new mineral opportunities, strengthen oversight of natural resources, and attract further investment to Togo's mining sector.
Christopher Ticho with those details. Now crossing to the Sahel, Mali and Algeria have taken a bold step to revive their diplomatic relations after months of tension marked by the closure of airspace and the recall of ambassadors from both countries. The renewal followed talks between Malian Prime Minister Abdoulaye Maïga and Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune in Algiers on Monday. During the talks, the two leaders agreed to strengthen bilateral relations with the fight against terrorism and respect for Mali's sovereignty among the key issues discussed. Francis Boniface has more.
Upon his arrival in Algiers, Abdoulaye Maïga was greeted by his Algerian counterpart, Sifi Greb, before being received by Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune. They discussed the renewal of relations between Algiers and Bamako after several months of diplomatic tensions. Following his meeting with the Algerian head of state, the Malian Prime Minister reaffirmed the need for both countries to revitalize their cooperation, particularly in the fight against terrorism.
I
think it has been clearly established that Mali and Algeria share a common geography. We cannot relocate. I believe that through this accession, we are in a way bound to work together, bound to work towards prosperity for both our peoples. They felt it was necessary to make our region a haven of peace, a region free from all forms of neocolonialism, all forms of hegemony, a prosperous region, a region also free from all forms of terrorism.
Furthermore, the Malian Prime Minister emphasized respect for Mali's sovereignty and non-interference in its internal affairs. These are principles that both sides are now prioritizing in their relations.
I would also like to recall the viewpoint of His Excellency, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune. I believe he reiterated that Algeria would never interfere in the internal affairs of our countries.
The two countries also intend to reactivate their economic cooperation, particularly in the hydrocarbon sector. Bamako and Algiers have committed to giving new impetus to their relations, prioritizing dialogue.
A report by WADR's Bamako correspondent Ali Chairman, voiced there in our studios by Francis Boniface. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal, online at wadr.org and on YouTube and Facebook at WADR English. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's Financial Intelligence Unit highlights new platforms used by terrorists to transfer funds. Ghana's national security warns of attempts to recruit groups to foment unrest ahead of the 2028 general elections. Guinean presidency dismisses nearly 200 soldiers, including chief of special forces. Here in Senegal, we told you that security operatives have arrested 40 people over illegal gold mining. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Bringing you the facts beyond the headlines from Monrovia, Liberia. This is Abraham Parker. Stay tuned to WADR 94.9 FM Dakar.
Many thanks for staying with us. Liberia has marked the 179th anniversary of its national flag with a ceremony in Monrovia. The event held Monday under the theme From Heritage to Hope, the flag that unites us, brought together government officials, diplomats, students and citizens. This year's commemoration went beyond the traditional display of the Lone Star, focusing on national unity, identity and responsibilities of citizenship. Let's now join WADR's Abraham Parker for more.
Speaking at the official ceremony, President Joseph Boakai urged Liberians to see the national flag as more than a symbol. He described the flag as an expression of Liberia's history, identity, struggles, and aspirations.
When we look upon our Lone Star, let us see the Liberia we have inherited and the Liberia we have as a responsibility to build. We must hold ourselves to the same standard.
Delivering the National Flag Day oration, Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gafuan said, the Lone Star is more than cloth and the color. It represents Liberia's history.
We too may wear different political uniforms. We may come from different contexts. We may belong to different tribes, religions. We may disagree. But above all, we have a single national flag that belongs to all of us.
Meanwhile, Education Minister Dr. Jaso Malejala used the occasion to announce a major change in Liberia's education system. She declared the reintroduction of civics education at the primary school level nationwide.
We also officially launched the standardized civics textbooks. This is part of the education we owe our children.
However, many Liberians say the National Flag Day should be more than a ceremonial occasion. They expressed the need for better governance, respect for the law, improved education, employment opportunities, and a stronger future for young Liberians. For 179 years, Liberia's Lone Star has flown through some of the country's most important and difficult moments. But the question now is, what should the flag represent for the next generation? For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
In the Gambia, journalists have been urged to put children's rights, safety and dignity at the heart of their reporting. The call comes as the Institute for Human Rights and Development in Africa, the Gambia Press Union and UNICEF hold a two-day training in Banjul on ethical and child-sensitive journalism. The program is equipping reporters with practical skills to cover children's issues accurately while protecting vulnerable minors from exposure and harm. From Banjul, Rose Samara Cates reports.
This training is part of a project of strengthening media capacity on children's rights and ethical reporting in the Gambia. It seeks to enhance journalists' capacity to undertake accurate, ethical, and child rights sensitive reporting while developing media content that promotes and protects a child's right. The Gambia Press Union President Isaac Ruketa says children's stories are particularly sensitive because information published about them can follow them long after the stories has been broadcast or published.
And now when it comes to the issue of children, it becomes much more particular and very much significant for us to actually put into consideration, because whatever stories that we tell about kids, it follows them.
Child Protection Manager UNICEF Emmanuel Massoud maintains that the media plays an important role not only in reporting problems but also in influencing public debate and encouraging action from decision makers. While cautioning journalists to report on the sensitive issues such as sexual violence, Masood warns that revealing the identity of a child survivor could have devastating and irreversible consequences.
Especially now in the era of social media, the information can be disseminated in minutes, in hours, and then it stays there forever. So it's very important because it can have terrible consequences for the survivor.
For the organizers, the objective is clear: to ensure that journalists do not simply report children's stories, but tell them in a way that protects the very children whose experiences they seek to bring to public attention. The event, which will be concluded later today, is an initiative by the Institution of Human Rights and Development in Africa and the Gambia Press Union with support from UNICEF. For WADR, Rose Samara Cates, Banjul.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is The Guest.
Joining us this evening is Baba Gana Wakil, a security analyst in the northeastern state of Borno, Nigeria, where parents stage a protest over the abduction of hundreds of students more than 2 months ago. Speaking to WADR, Wakil describes the current security situation across northern Nigeria, including a report about a recent viral video that suggests the abduction of 600 residents in the northwest and government efforts to address the issue head-on.
The situation is seriously bad day in, day out, but the normal attack on the villages and highways by the insurgents or the gunmen, the Nigerian security operatives have managed and drastically reduced the incidences, but the issues of abduction of people and the worshippers has increased from the south, from the northwest, north central, and northeastern Nigeria.
Can we take a closer look at activities by terrorists, particularly Boko Haram and ISWAP in the northeast?
Recently, about 200 or 400 people were abducted from a primary school in Musa, a town, remote town under the Askira Uba local government in the southern part of Borno State, northeastern Nigeria. Those people are still in captivity. The government and the state and federal level are working assiduously to make sure that these people were actually rescued without losing a single one. I could remember day before yesterday, the parents from the village were invited by the state governor to the government house, and he called them to become a law-abiding citizen and assured them that the government at all levels are working day in, day out to bring back their children safely.
Well, can you also tell us what the security community so far understands from the reported viral video that suggests the abduction of at least 600 people, including men and women, on Friday, but also the contradictions in that report, given that traditionally women do not attend Friday prayers in the north?
Between Sokoto, Alok, and the Niger State, people were abducted according to some report at the Jumaat Mosque, but it's come out that the recent footage or video clip released by the insurgents or the bandits have clearly indicated that these people are not only men, but also women, children, and the aged ones. If you can remember, these children, these women are traditionally not usually seen at the Friday congregational prayers. But how come the report contradicted that the only men and were abducted at the Friday congregational prayers, but in the video of all people that were abducted, shown that the women, children, and the old ones who are not attending congregational Jumu'ah prayer due to the situation, and traditionally women, young women are not seen attending Friday congregational prayers from parts of northern Nigeria. But they said report has not indicated the number of the women and the children. But for now, nobody can tell the exact figure, the number of the women and the children and the men. No one can actually say that. But the video has indicated and shown them crying and begging for help.
Baba Gana Wakil, a security analyst based in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, northeast Nigeria. And welcome to the sports segment on Newslink. First, Ethiopia has formally submitted its bids to host the 2028 Africa Cup of Nations more than 50 years after it last staged the continental tournament in 1976. The Ethiopian Football Federation says the country is fully prepared to host Africa's biggest football event. However, the bid faces questions over security and infrastructure challenges amid unrest in parts of the country. The 2027 AFCON will be jointly hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, while Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso have expressed interest in hosting the 2032 edition. And that's it for sports news. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Sheikh Njai for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms X, Instagram, and Facebook at WADR English, and stream live at wadr.org. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good evening.
We thank you for listening to Newslink in Nigeria on Love FM Abuja and Darling FM Owerri. In the Gambia on Hot FM Banjul, Hilltop FM and Veritas Radio in Serekunda. Thank you for listening on Alternative Youth Radio Lofa County, Liberia, Radio Kegaman in Nimba County, and DCN Radio Riverses County. A big thank you to Radio Baft FM in Sierra Leone for listening, and in Ghana we thank Radio Pad in Damango and Royals FM in Wenchi. Thank you all for listening to Newslink.